Chair calls the Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District Special Call Meeting to order. Can we pause for a moment of silent prayer? Amen. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved, Madam President.
Second.
It's been motioned and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Dr. Brown.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
First item on the agenda is the school bond issue. In your package, you have a copy of the timeline for a school bond, the school bond campaign timeline. I think today we were meeting to do two things. One, to brainstorm the proposed project, well, board members brainstorm proposed project details to include school grade reconfigurations and possibly identify potential school location.
Madam President, if I may,
Yes.
Dr. Brown and your administrative team, do you all mind speaking to the preference of which preferred school that you all put forth to the board and the rationale behind that?
I think if I can recall, I proposed starting with the elementary, at the elementary level, and that is basically to allow for all students to start together and as they move forward into the middle and high school grades, but because we also have a lot of primary, we have two primary and we have a few elementary buildings, to consolidate those schools into possibly 1 and 2 at the elementary level to save money in the long run, as well as allow those students to start coming up together in the community. I think, Mr. Johnson, do you recall what you had?
And basically, that was the same thing that I had looking at the facility studies that we had versus some of our deteriorating buildings. The number of elementary schools were about 7, and possibly being able to consolidate from 7 to 2 would have cost-saving measures, as well as providing those students an opportunity to start together and grow together. That was one of the things we were looking at. And I think for as a preference, we did prefer all of the schools. To be honest, that's when we was looking at it. The initiative is to go primary, elementary, configure the middle school, as well as a central high school. I think funds is basically what we're looking at versus whether we can do all, and then doing a starting point from one point moving forward, whether it was a top-down approach or a bottom-down approach.
Dr. Pulley, Ms. Coleman.
As the former middle school administrator, principal, that was the first opportunity where all of the elementary schools had an opportunity to join together. So it's going to bring some challenges in itself. So I agree with maybe an upper elementary school whereby students can begin together, grow together, have some intramural sports together. Then the middle school is already there, so they'll meet again and learn and have some extracurricular activities together. And then later on in the future have a high school, but by that time they would have had several years together, helping us to achieve that community united mindset.
My take on it is somewhat different. I do agree with Dr. Brown, Mr. Johnson, and Ms. Coleman as it relates to that perspective. My perspective is from the high school level, down. Just looking at the community, looking at the various um, high schools, and just seeing the competition there, and from their standpoint, if we place all of them under one roof, then having that one mindset that we're of one goal, of one school, representing one place of learning, one place of athletic accomplishments, one place, and then let that trickle down and allowing all students to have the same academic offerings at all three levels, across the district. Just because in some places, some schools are not able to offer certain courses just because of the size of the school. And so that was my take. And then, but definitely, as Mr. Johnson mentioned, if the funds are available, we would love to have, high, middle, and elementary, definitely. But I do understand both sides. But that was just my position, beginning with the high school first.
And did anybody ever check the record? Because, I don't know, because I kept telling you all I thought that we had put it to a vote, but I remember the last time, I don't think we really came to a conclusion if we did or not, because I know three of us were of the same mindset as you, Mr. Pulley, Dr. Pulley, I'm sorry. So I want to know, did anybody ever go back and check the record to see did we actually put it to a vote?
The board gonna discuss, are we gonna discuss like they did, hold on, Mr. Bailey, did you want the board to do the same?
If it pleases Madam President, of course, I have no problem. If you want to start, I can start, Ms. Luke, whomever.
I will start out basically, from the financial point. I think from a financial point, we'll be able to close more schools, starting with elementary, on the financial part. And on another point, I think if we start at pre-K and elementary, I think we can start back getting kids that, the culture that we lost, the race that we lost from this school district. I think if we start from the bottom, they will let some of their younger kids come and they will grow with us. So I think we'll gain more students that way. And from a safety standpoint, I just don't think on a safety standpoint from what's going on territory on the high school part, that we're at a point that we can handle that on the high school part, safety-wise. And me being an athletic guy, I know we're not ready for that point. Like everyone think it would be. I think just like this year, that's a touchy subject with 3 schools right now. And like everybody said, I think if we grow them together, from pre-K, I think we'll have the whole community bringing their kids there. And once they get used to going together those years, I think we can come back and we'll have some money by then, with the savings we'll have by closing those other schools and able to take our time and build up a very high school.
Colleagues, in regard to our opinions separate, I think that, in my opinion, I've always envisioned a high school. I just know that we always place emphasis at the lower level. And I just, my mind is, I'm wondering what are the voices of the students. I don't know if we've asked, what the students want. And I know it's up to us to make the decision. But in my mind, if you begin allowing students to have camaraderie together at the 9th grade level, they are beginning at that 6th grade level or the 5th grade level. The high school, I just envision a high school at the cutting edge, ready for 21st century learning, ready to employ 21st century educators. Elementary, they always get what they get. You know, we always place emphasis, and not just this district, other districts as well, but I just know that I feel, in my opinion, I feel like a high school would benefit, and it would give those students at the middle school the opportunity to do personal goal setting. When they get to high school, they go to a high school that's cutting edge and ready for learning. You know, at some point, yeah, we do have to figure out how to work with what's going on in the community in regard to the students that are enrolled. But if they are beginning in middle school, by the time they get to high school, you know, that's a skill set. We have to learn how to get along. And if teachers aren't teaching character and how to get along, by the time they get to that point, you know, when does it start? So there has to be a starting point. And so a high school, in my opinion, would be best for our district.
And again, I agree with you and Dr. Pulley. I believe it should be high school. And as far as crime is concerned, actually they start in upper elementary to middle school. That's where most of the crime is coming from. And I just think we need one premier high school. And in my opinion, that'll save a lot of money with one premier high school. One team, athletics of everything. Just one team that'll cut out on your different sports for 3 different schools. So that's just my take on it. I feel like we should just have one premier high school, and we are one community, and we ought to be able to learn how to get along. If we're not getting along, we can learn to do it.
And I concur with Dr. Pulley and Ms. Milton and Dr. Moore. I still agree with the high school because there are a group of people who have left the community and left the district who we are never going to get back. I mean, it's just, it is what it is. I don't care if you had brand new schools everywhere. It's just a certain group of people who are not going to come back into the district. And looking at a premier high school, I think it would be a benefit to this community. Maybe we can bring in some more industries would be brought in. But I do agree that the high school, I think, in my opinion, would be where we would need to start.
So, colleagues, I certainly appreciate the perspective and the dialogue that we're having. And believe it or not, Ms. Milton and Ms. Lewis and Dr. Moore, at one time I also wanted a high school. But, you know, after talking with constituents in District 4, hearing from the administration and understanding the needs of the district, particularly the financial needs of the district, I'm in support of a elementary school for various reasons. One, looking at the building study that was done, a lot of our buildings are in deplorable conditions across the board. Cost savings, if we're looking at possibly closing 5 buildings versus closing 2, again, you know, mathematically, that makes sense. Younger children tend to assimilate a little bit better than older students would. Not saying it will not happen, but the assimilation timeline or curve certainly could be minimal. I think we may be forgetting that despite whatever we as a board choose, what direction we choose to go in, we still have to get the community to vote on this. We have to get buy-in from the community to vote on this. And I say that because based on the survey data, and again, the data is only reflective of those persons that took the survey, the community supports elementary school. And, you know, if we say high school and the community say we don't want that, then we're back at square one. And the very same can be said if we decide to go with the elementary school and the community feels they want a high school. So I understand both sides of that. But also not just a reduction in operating costs as it pertains to possibly closing 5 schools versus 2, But we're also looking at reduction in workforce and salaries. And again, that's another saving that the district can benefit from. So as I stated previously, I support elementary school. Thank you for the time, Madam President.
And you say closing 5 buildings versus 2, so,
So you, hypothetically, if we currently have 7 buildings, if we hypothetically build a lower elementary and an upper elementary, that's 2 buildings. So you're taking 5 offline per se and replacing them with 2, so 7 from 2 is 5. Is that right, Mr. Johnson? Where we have 3 high schools, you close, in essence, 3, but you're still building 1, so in terms, you're really closing 2 schools.
and
If that makes
where,
sense.
Dr. Brown, where is which building is it that we paying so much money for,
Don't go there.
I gotta ask that.
Don't go there.
I gotta ask
We're
that.
working on that.
But I'm saying, where is that?
Utilities,
Is that high school or elementary?
high school.
So that's 10 buildings, Dr. Bailey.
Oh, that's more than 10, let's be honest with you. But that's high school,
And we
elementary.
paying that every month, Dr.
No,
Bailey.
that's high school, junior high, and elementary. It's 1 fee, right? Dr. Brown? It's not separated, is that correct?
And
For the utilities in elementary?
that's their high school.
But it's a combination.
It's right, so I don't think it's fair to just say.
Wait a minute
high school.
now, we got the
But that's
finance
on
lady over
one
here.
campus.
We
Just
got
one
the finance lady, Ms. Pulley.
It's actually one campus when we talk about elementary, high school over there. But they have 3 different accounts that's billed, but it's not necessarily per se high school or elementary. It's all the buildings on the campus, period.
So that's 62 that we see, that's all 3 of them.
Mr. Johnson, one question, like, when they had the survey, inspecting the schools, when they was inspecting the schools, the elementary, another thing, like, if we go high school, we was getting, like, Threadgill was one of our worst schools, I think, so we still had to come back, even if we build a high school, do something about those elementary schools, I mean, bank with the property.
And I guess the way I looked at it as a holistic approach when
Hey, Mr. Johnson, we can't hear you on your mic.
It's got to be the speaker. The way I looked at it, it was a holistic approach. When we looked at doing it, we didn't look at just doing a elementary, high school, or middle school. We looked at, in the long term, we would need everything. We would need an elementary, we would need a high school, and updated middle school. So the way we looked at it, which direction would we start? We wanted, of course, if we have enough money, based on our architect fees, possibly to do all three phases. It was a 3-phase approach.
My question was, right now, our worst schools are the elementary schools. So what I'm saying, if we vote to build a high school, according to the state, we have to still do something to those elementary schools right away.
Yes, to be honest, whichever direction we go in, we still got a lot of work that needs to be done in every school in the district.
So in other words, it's really not gonna make a difference where we start, cause all 3 levels are in bad condition, right?
Of course, except for the middle school.
We can't hear you.
Except for the middle school.
Yeah, except for Greenwood Middle.
And all of the schools need work based off the facility studies. We have things that have to be done to make all our buildings more energy efficient. We do have older schools, of course. We only have one school that was built within the last 2 decades. Everything else was built at least 3 or 4 decades. So it's a lot of upgrade and a lot of updates that we have done, currently doing, but we do have issues on all campuses that have to be addressed at some point as it relates to heat, air, and those things that would naturally have to happen due to deterioration just over the years.
But I think about what I was saying, when I got this survey, it went ranking like the worst You know what I'm saying? And some of the worst ones were within that 7 that Dr. Bailey's saying. If we build an elementary school, we need almost clean that. You see what I'm saying? Now we build a high school, we still got 7 more buildings that we got to repair.
Correct.
And in our surveys that you all took, Mr. Johnson, what was the mindset of the students and what was the mindset of the parents?
Well, of course, based off the number of people that we had to do our steering committee, it was always a mix. Of course, the elementary felt it was a need for elementary. The high school felt the need for a high school, and middle school felt the need. And it was pretty much even that way across the board when we talked to parents and students. Of course, students had drawbacks and students had positive. You had some students that thought it would be a great idea. And then you had other students that thought it would be a concern just based off of some of the things that are going on within our neighborhood. So that was a concern of the students. And like I said, it was a mix, because we had a mixed group, it was a mixed bag.
And I do think we need to go back and revisit the surveys. How do you recall the number of people who feel like the survey, Dr. Brown, that will kind of give us a measure, a comparison, some numbers to go by? Because if you tell me 100% said it or 75% said it, I need to know if it was 50 people who filled it out.
And we'll have to look at, because that was back in,
Yes, the last one, I think we resubmitted. We did one if it wasn't in August and September, and I know we did give that information to the board from both surveys. I want to say it was 1,000 and something on that last one. I know it wasn't above 1,500. I know it was less than 1,500 that actually responded. It was even lower the first time.
Let me ask you this, I'm sorry, Dr. Moore. Is there any kind of way, like when we're at a board meeting, that you can set up a live poll and people can be voting while we're in a meeting, that we can actually see the numbers come in?
And I guess the question, if you having one particular question for them to do,
I'm
yes.
saying like elementary, middle school, high school. So like at our December meeting, while we're hosting our meeting, can there be a live poll where people can come in and just vote?
Yes.
Okay. We can't hear you, Mr. Williams.
We gonna vote today. I mean, I don't think nobody gonna change their mind. We'll vote. I mean,
And I don't have, Madam President, I don't have a problem with, as Mr. Williams said, if we're going to take a vote today, I certainly don't have a problem with it. It appears that, everybody has their mind made up, even though I cannot speak for everybody else on the board. But I will ask if it is feasible to allow Mr. Johnson to potentially seek RFPs, as he did the first time, for the cost of each individual school. Now, I know there may be some parameters that we have to set, because just hypothetically, we may be able to get one bill for 15, another addition for 5, and another building for about 30, and we may potentially be able to, meet the needs of everybody in the community or all our schools, but we just need to know what those numbers or those figures look like.
But I would just, excuse me one more time, I would just like to see the mindset of the people, because we have business people, they were on the committee, right?
Correct.
We have politicians and community leaders, correct?
Correct.
So I'm saying, if they don't have to come to a building and they can just give you their opinion, then we still can see where the community's mind is. We can just see, other than us, what do people think?
But how do you increase that participation with them?
I'm saying if it's November, we have from November to our December meeting to advertise. Anybody can link on and click on what their opinion is.
Now, do you want it to just be live that day, or do you want it to be live?
I would like to just see what's going on that day. From community people perspective, from the politicians' perspective, from the students' perspectives, from the parents' perspective, just to see what they're thinking.
But Ms. Mills,
Dr. Brown,
would it be beneficial if we could just like maybe repost the survey and ask Mr. Johnson to maybe provide the community a base number of, or a set amount of people that have already, completed the survey? Just to kind of give I guess, a visual number of the amount of people who've already participated. And see, if you did not participate in this particular survey, you have until such and such a date, because I don't know if everybody will be wanting to tune in that particular day. If we give it a whole month, and let me just say this, board members, the voice of the community is that, hey, this is going to be their tax, this is going to be their money too, and I think, we owe it to them to say, okay, to listen, to see what they have to say.
Dr. Brown, do we have extra personnel at the school level right now that maybe could start calling parents to maybe conduct a survey over the phone? Because I just don't think we get numbers that are really indicative of what we're really looking for.
We have the personnel, but I think it would be easier if we would repost the survey to get that, because we do a lot of calling for attendance, and we call a lot now, so I'm thinking it would be easier if they would just go online and redo the survey, and we just leave it out there until December, and that would give everybody the time. We could continue to promote it, but that would give them time to go in and redo the survey.
Yeah,
But
because what
based
I'm
on those
thinking
numbers,
about,
though-
but I'm thinking about the committees that we gave Mr. Johnson. Those were people that we gave you. So that really is not a good showing of the whole community as a whole, because we selected those people and you set them up like that. But we
Yes,
want to
but-
see what the whole community is saying.
We also posted it to our website for the whole community, like
Okay.
it was based on different groups. You had a student survey where the students it was open to all students that wanted to participate. Same thing with the parent and same thing with the community. Now, I'm listening to what I think everyone is saying now, and I think it may be a different survey, because if we're talking about a live or one that's gonna be continuing, it may be one that has to be set up for all. And when I say all, it's inclusive of students, parents, and community stakeholders. And we'll just have a distinguishing question for them to say who they are, and then just ask the 1 or 2 questions that you want. And then you may give a better turnout with a 3-question survey versus I think what we did then was a 15-question survey. And I think basically the only answer y'all looking for is now is which phase that they would prefer to start with.
And Madam President, if I may, also Canvas allows for analytics, surveys in particular. So you have a way to get those surveys out to your students as well as your faculty and staff that have Canvas accounts. And Canvas will automatically populate those responses.
And the student surveys, maybe, that could become part of someone's social studies class or something, to make sure those teachers have those students completing those surveys. But some parents, I think, it's not difficult to go on and take a survey. But a lot of times we put it off. We don't do it. If you get a phone call and they say, I'm blah, blah, blah from whatever school, I'm just calling to see what choice would you like. We're considering a bond issue. And they, okay, well, I would like a high school. Okay, well, thank you.
But that's time consuming, Ms. Lewis.
I mean, but look at the numbers that we've gotten in the past.
Ms. Lewis, would you be open to like the robocalls going out to remind people to take the survey, or even the text messages including the survey link? So when you get that text message, you click on that link, yes or no, or high school, middle school, elementary school, and you're done. Would you be open to that?
Yes, that would be great.
Dr. Brown or Mr. Johnson, do you think that'll be feasible?
Yes.
Oh.
Board members, in my role as issuers counsel, it is also my job to try to facilitate as best as possible some advice regarding this matter. Dr. Bailey is correct that we do have to get the 60% of the people who actually vote have to vote to pass this bond issue. One thing Dr. Bailey mentioned was about the RFPs. I would like to tell the board that I do think, just from a practical standpoint, that it may be premature to get the RFPs prior to the board actually having a concrete project in place. I think if you have a project nailed down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then you provide that to whichever architect or whoever, they may be able to then come to give you a price for that. I do want to share with the board that I did share this in an email to you all, that a school district in South Mississippi built a high school and remodeled its current high school. I think they renovated it to be a middle school. Not that I'm not proposing a suggestion, I'm giving you the cost that they did this, and this is from a September 30th, 2020 article in that local newspaper. They built a new high school and renovated their middle school for $25 million. And so we were thinking that maybe we could get more bang for our buck out of the $42 million that we were discussing. And I think we were saying, well, maybe those were that's just what it cost. But looking at these new plans here, I don't know who who this school district used. I believe it's in this article. Maybe we could reach out to those people or someone else to say, look, we're trying to do this, this, and this. And if we have $42 million, you might be able to get sort of everything that everybody wants or close to it. If they can build a high school and renovate a middle school for $25 million, and we have at least $17 more million to do that with, maybe we can do that. One more observation, Mississippi Code 29.3.115 gives school districts the option to use this 16 section interest funds. Now, the finance people probably will tell you, don't dig into that at all unless it's an emergency or whatever. But you might, for repairs of buildings and all of that, you might want to check to see how much money does the school district have in its 16 section interest funds, because that might be an option to help out with some of these costs. That's just an observation.
Thank you. I recall you telling us that the last time we were on the conference call with Mr. Bailey.
For clarity, not this Bailey.
Yes, not Dr. Bailey, but Mr. Bailey. But however, since we see that it's a need for elementary, for middle, and for high school, it's just a point of knowing where to start first, because we all have our own opinions. But I just feel like if the community is a part of it and we find out how they feel, then we can get the bagging of the community to get this bond issue passed. So we just got to come to a conclusion, board members, of how we want the surveys to be done.
So, Madam President, I don't have a problem with the district putting the surveys back out on their website. This will be the third time, if I'm not mistaken, and I have no problem with it. But I will ask to share, stand along the lines with Ms. Lewis, that robocalls are conducted to inform parents or just community people in general, to refer to the website, to take the survey and submit it, as well as the text messages, including a link, even if it's just to the district's webpage, so that the surveys can be completed. But as I stated some time ago, sooner or later, we're going to have to make a decision. We can't keep kicking this can down the road, even if, at our next work session, we discuss it, or if it's a call meeting to go ahead and take a vote on what our preference is as a board. But again, those are just my sentiments.
So, Dr. Brown, would it be feasible to say from now to Thanksgiving holiday that you could put it out there?
We can now till, do you want before Thanksgiving or after the November 30th? Because we're out that entire week for Thanksgiving.
So today is the what? The 5th.
Yeah.
So we can have a strong 2 weeks.
Okay.
And we know the results before y'all leave for Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And we could just use as many avenues as we can. If it take robocalls, if it take, maybe some teachers might even give an incentive for parents to go out and fill it out. And then we need to find a way to reach the community.
And we'll ask the principals, because we have our virtual parent meetings twice a day, November 9th through 13th. We'll ask the principals to mention it every day of every meeting.
And if you could give me to Monday, because I want to see if the option is available to have a ticker or tracker to put on our website to say, as they take the surveys, you could actually see the number of people that have completed it. So if you could give me at least a Monday to get that, I want to do a little more research, because I think that'll be helpful.
And also what Dr. Bailey said as far as Canvas keeping an accurate number as well.
Colleagues, I want to reiterate us meeting. I know meetings can be consuming, but if we are asking or getting ready to ask the community to assist us with obtaining a bond issued, I think we need to do some planning as well together. We need to spend a little bit more time together to view the data. We're going to let the data drive the instruction, whether it's data from monetary perspective or data from surveys of the community and our students. So I do think we need to spend some time together reiterating and discussing how we want to move so that we can place options, put those down in black and white, so that when we are ready to move on whatever it is decision we're going to make, we have our planning ready. So if we say yes, then we present the plan, if that's okay.
And
I
while
know
we,
our schedules are busy, but I really think we need to start to come together a little bit more often on this particular topic.
and if we could adhere to our timeline from here on out.
Next, we have approval of athletic supplements. Mr. Johnson.
The Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District is requesting the approval of winter supplement scale options for the 2020-21 school year. You have attached option A and option B.
So board members, we got to figure out how to narrow it down to either option A or option B. I know Mr. Johnson gave it to us for a comparison, just so that we could see. So I guess we could take a quick poll.
Mr. Johnson, Mr. Williams, can you turn your mic on? We can't hear you down here.
I was asking Ms. Miller if she wants to do it. A is the one from this year, B is the one from last year, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You want us to make a motion or?
No, we don't want to make a motion. We're going to make the motion when we vote. We're just going to quickly, okay, if that's how you want to do it.
So, Madam President, may I ask a question, if it's okay with you? Mr. Williams? So my understanding, A was presented just because of potential constraints within the district. Is B not feasible from the financial standpoint? I think Ms. Pulley wants the microphone, or Ms. Washington, whomever.
Is she on the line?
Oh, well, whomever.
Washington on now. I do want to take a correction. If I'm not mistaken, the option B, where it shows the scale going down for the assistant coaches on each school, they were on the same scale, if I'm not mistaken. The only difference were at the head coach positions.
So you saying for every other category it's the same, just the head coach is
That's
different?
just the first school.
No, it wouldn't be the same because the last category is an increase as well. I was just pointing out that not only were there, was there a change for the assistant coaches, as you pointed out, but the last category on each page, that was an increase from option A, if you follow.
Correct, because if you notice on option A, under the assistant coaches, and the last school on option B, that total actually goes down. They were all on the scale for the first school under assistant coaches. Dr. Bailey, did you still need me to ask Ms. Washington about the,
Or Ms. Washington or
she's on the
Dr.
line.
Brown? So, Ms. Washington, with option B, which is I would just say an increase, I believe it may have been supplements from last year. As a district, are we in a good position to cover those costs?
Of the cuts we've already received, I would say yes. I would not advise going ahead and paying full supplements if we can get by through this year anyway.
Thank you, Ms. Washington.
So she said her advice would be not to approve full supplement. Which is option B. So, board members, not an official vote, but just to see if we're gonna use option A or B and then vote it up or down. So all those in favor of, and this is not an official vote, okay, Shantiri? So those of you who are in favor of option A, which is the cut budget, just say yay or nay. Show of hands.
I'm gonna say reduced budget. I'm in favor of it, but I have an issue with the very first person, as I indicated, based upon what was achieved
Well,
last
I think
year.
we talked about that yesterday
I got you.
for the first one.
Right. So again, just based upon what's presented, you're definitely right. But
Okay.
other than that, I support it.
So A, you two. Did y'all, okay. So B would be you two. Oh, just you? So, okay, so then we're gonna go with A. All right, Dr. Brown.
Okay, okay.
First name, the actual issue that Dr. Bailey was talking
Bailey.
Dr. Brown has addressed my concern.
Okay, Dr. Brown, so we're gonna go with A, so can you make your recommendation?
Yes, ma'am. The superintendent recommends school board approval of the winter supplement scale option A for the.
Wait a minute, excuse me, I'm sorry. So, we got 2 for A and 2 for B.
Okay.
Somebody abstain?
Mm,
You
know it was
abstaining?
me.
But we have to go ahead and vote still, so. Can she make a
We
recommendation?
just saying which scale to use, A or B.
Motion that we use B.
And then we got 2 A's.
They got the motion, you gotta go ahead and, you gotta carry.
Okay, go ahead, Antoine.
I make a motion that we, go with option B.
Anybody gonna second it? Okay, Dr. Brown, so it's for B.
B, okay. The superintendent recommends school board approval of the winter supplement scale option B for the 2020-2021 school year.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the winter supplement scale option B for 2020-2021 school year.
So move.
It has been motioned and second. All in favor? Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
And for the record, let my nay be due to the coronavirus, has nothing to do with the athletes or the coaches. My vote is shown just because of the safety reasons due to the coronavirus.
So, hold up, hold. We saying they don't need to get paid because of the virus?
I say that's why I voted the way I voted.
Madam President, may I make a motion?
Go ahead, Dr.
I
Bailey.
move that the district move forward with supplement for option A.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
So the ayes have it. Motion is carried. So now, Dr. Brown, can you do it again?
Okay, this is with option A?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It's approved.
We going with option A, so she's gonna go and let us do it again.
Okay. The superintendent recommends school board approval of the winter supplement scale option A for the 2020-2021 school year.
All right, board members, Chair entertain a motion to approve the winter supplement scale option A for 2020-2021. All in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
And once again, I'm gonna say the ayes have it, but I wanna say it again, it's not toward the coaches or the students. My vote was the safety of the coronavirus. So the ayes have it and the motion is carried.
Mrs. Pulley, is Ms. Washington still on? Okay. Next, we have approval of auditor and accountant training contracts. Attached are the contracts for Fortenberry and Ballard PC and Masbo. Fortenberry and Ballard PC is for 1, 2, or 3-year contracts to perform audit services for the Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District for fiscal year 2020. Masbo contract is for training for the accountant. Mrs. Washington. I think the question from yesterday, board members want to know if Ms. Washington was asking for the 1, 2, or 3-year contract and why.
I'm actually asking for a 3-year contract. What they do is give you an option. If you don't want to choose option 1, 2, then you can choose
But my question is, Ms. Washington, you said to build a rapport, but still, if we were in a one-year contract, couldn't we still go on and get them another year after that year?
Repeat the question.
Just renew yearly?
Yes, you can.
Because I think Dr. Bailey wanted to know what was your rationale for the 3-year, because I opposed 3 years. So we just want to know, was there a certain rationale for 3 years why we couldn't just do it yearly?
It's cheaper to do 3 years, if you can actually hire, the officer for the 3 years by state statute. So that is why I would go with that option.
Did she say it was cheaper? Okay. Any other question, board members?
The superintendent recommends that the school board approve the contracts for Fortenberry and Ballard, PC, for auditing services, and Masbo for training the accountant of the GLCSD.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the contracts for Fortenberry and Ballard, PC, for auditing services, and Masbo for training the is it account or accountant?
Accountant.
Accountant of the Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District.
Madam President, I move that we accept the contract for option 3.
It has been motioned and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Is that it? Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been motioned and second. All in favor? Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Y'all, please don't forget to set your